What's going on, guys? Arrow here, and guys, before we get into today's video, I want to do a quick flashback to a video that I made last year. I was basically just giving my thoughts on how I think that the Nintendo Switch have potential to do much better than its competition of Xbox and PlayStation. Now from this time point, from when I'm making this video right now, in April, I gotta say guys, the Nintendo Switch is definitely doing really well, and it definitely looks like there's a really good potential for the Nintendo Switch. I mean, Nintendo's goal was to sell like 2 million units by the end of March, and honestly, I thought that that was gonna be kind of hard for them because Zelda was really their only one. You know, I think that the Nintendo Switch is doing really well. Like, they actually sold out of all of their 2 million units that they made. There's still a high demand for the Nintendo Switch, and they're still shipping out a whole bunch of units to stores, and they're selling out really fast. I think right now, like the last time I checked the number, it was like 2 million, like 100,000 or something that they've sold so far. So it looks really good. The potential looks really good for the Nintendo Switch right now. But yeah, that's how I was talking about in my old video. I was talking about like how I think that the Nintendo Switch has a lot of potential. But also one thing that I did mention in that video was that one thing that I was worried about for the Nintendo Switch was the fact that it was using cartridges. Now, as we know, the Nintendo Switch doesn't use discs like the Wii U and the Xbox and PlayStation, but rather it uses small cartridges that you put into the top of the Nintendo Switch console. And I mentioned how that even though it's really cool that the Nintendo Switch is going to be using cartridges, the one thing that I was worried about was how developers and third parties were going to feel on that fact that Nintendo was going to be using cartridges. And I mentioned how since like other developers are developing games for Xbox, poured over their games from a disc onto a Nintendo Switch cartridge. And you know, obviously I'm not a video game developer, so I can't say if that's going to be like an easy process or if it's a hard process, but I know it's definitely some work, and there's definitely going to be a lot of work involved to be able to port over a game from a disc to a cartridge. It's not something as easy as just dragging a file over or like converting a file overnight or something. There's definitely some optimization, there's some porting, and there's definitely a lot of work that's involved in it. And so that's the one thing that I was a little bit upset about, or not upset, but like the one thing I was a little bit worried about, and that's what I mentioned in that video. I was talking about like how I hope that it's easy for developers to port over their games. I really don't want the fact that it's using cartridges to be the problem, or like to be the reason why developers back away from all left. You know, I know a lot of you guys said that porting over games from a disc to a cartridge shouldn't be that big of a deal, and I don't know, like, I mean, like, I was just reading your guys' comments, and it looked like it was pretty good. I mean, hopefully that's not that big of a problem, but guys, I think that the cartridges are going to be a problem, and it's not for the fact of porting over the games, but there's actually a few days ago. But I do want to talk to you guys about it because I think that it is important, and this is like the one thing that definitely could be a little bit bad for the Nintendo Switch. So as we all know, the Nintendo Switch is using cartridges, but the thing about the cartridges is that they're actually more expensive to produce than the discs that PlayStation and Xbox use on their consoles, because they use Blu-ray discs and Nintendo uses cartridges. Now, I don't know if you guys know about this, but a lot of people who have been like looking for Nintendo Switch games and stuff, and like they know that there are a few games that are going to be the same on PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo Switch, they noticed that the price on the Nintendo Switch, to make sure that there wasn't anything like exclusive or something that only comes onto the Nintendo Switch version, and that definitely wasn't the case. It was the same game, but it was $10 more on Nintendo Switch. So obviously this raised some eyebrows. People were a little bit confused, like, okay, why is this $10 more on the Nintendo Switch and $10 less on the Xbox and PlayStation? And you know, I think Eurogamer, I think this is where I'm looking at this article right now, and it'll be linked in the description. But yeah, Eurogamer did some investigating on the whole idea of why games are more expensive on the Nintendo than Blu-ray discs. And so this can definitely be a problem for Nintendo. I really hope that they find a way to make sure that production is easier for the Nintendo Switch cartridges and make them cheaper and easier for other developers and third parties to obtain, because this can definitely be an issue. And you know, from Eurogamer, it says in the article basically that it means that Nintendo Switch cartridges are more expensive to produce, and that makes makes the companies be able to make their games at a higher price in order to make sure that they get their value for the production of the cartridges as well. So that's definitely something that's confusing, and I really don't want that to be the case. I mean, just because it's on Nintendo Switch shouldn't mean that it's going to be an extra $10 just because you're using it on a Nintendo Switch cartridge, which is more expensive to produce. Cartridges are going to be 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabyte, 4 gigabyte, 8GB, 16GB, and 32GB. And it mentions how the more gigabytes that you go up on the Nintendo Switch cartridge, the more expensive the cartridge is going to be. And so this is definitely a big issue. I really hope that they can figure out a way to make sure that the production value, so that it's just easier for them to sell it and make sure that they sell it at the same price of Xbox and PlayStation. Because right now, if you think about it from a company standpoint, if they're bringing over a game onto the Nintendo Switch and they understand that the production value for the cartridges is more, they really just have two options. The first option is that they can take the L on the money that they're losing for the more production value for the Nintendo Switch cartridges. They can lose that money and they can sell the game at a normal price like how they sell it on Xbox and PlayStation. Or they could make the consumer, the person who buys the games, pay an extra $10 to make sure that they get their money for the extra production value on the Nintendo Switch cartridge. So obviously, if you're a company, you're most likely going to choose the second option, because if you think about it, if you're a big company who's spending time and money to develop for this console, and if you realize that you're going to be spending more money in order to make sure that your game is on these cartridges, you don't want to lose that money just because it's on a Nintendo Switch, and you want to make sure that you're from the game. And so I can definitely see that becoming a problem, especially because of these sizes that you guys see on screen right here too. Like these sizes that you get for the games, and seeing how they go up for like the bigger the game, the more you're paying for the cartridge. Like that can definitely be an issue. Like I know Breath of the Wild is like 13GB or something like that, and so like since they only have 8 and 16GB like that, you can't go to the 8 one. You would have to buy the 16GB card if you're a third-party developer, and so that's gonna be an expensive card. And especially think about like the big games that are coming on the Nintendo Switch from third parties, like a game like Skyrim. Like I can't imagine like how expensive it could be if they can't figure out a way to make sure the production value for this actually is cheaper and it's easier for third parties to develop for. Because like Skyrim being a big game, it could definitely be like $69-$99, and I really don't want to pay an extra $10 just because it's on Nintendo Switch and the cartridges cost more to develop for. So yeah, I really hope that Nintendo can figure out a way to make sure that the cartridges are cheaper and it's easier for third parties to get their hands on them, because like it definitely makes a lot of sense that cartridges are harder to develop for, or not harder to develop for, but the fact that they're more expensive, because like they are little cartridges, you can put them anywhere and you can put them in your system and stuff like that. And I guess like it's going to be a little bit hard for them, but hopefully they can figure it all out. This is definitely one thing that could be bad for the Nintendo Switch. Like if games are going to be $10 more, just a few bucks more even, that can definitely be a problem. Because like if you want to buy a game on your Nintendo Switch, but you realize that like if you also have a PlayStation or an Xbox and it's $10 cheaper on the Xbox or PlayStation, you're most likely going to buy it on that. And also another thing that people have been saying is, well, what about the Nintendo eShop? Why can't you just buy the game on digital and make sure that you get the same price for that? But actually Nintendo has some sort of policy where whatever the price that you're selling it for on the physical copy, that's the same price that you have to sell it on the eShop. So it's not like if you have a big game coming on that your physical version can be like $65, but your actual like digital version can only be the actual $59.99. No, it's going to be the same price for either one that you buy. So that's definitely a bit of an issue as well. But I can see why Nintendo does that. Like they don't want to seem like you're favoring one type, like that you're only favoring people who buy digitally or favoring only people who buy physically. So I can sort of see that. I just really hope that they can fix all of this and make sure that it's easy for third parties to be able to get their hands on the Nintendo Switch cartridges, because I really don't want to pay more money or just have people like pay more money to make sure that their games come on the Nintendo Switch. So I really hope they can figure that all out. And what do you guys think about that? Do you guys think that this could be a problem for Nintendo? Because I honestly think that this could be a big deal, especially because third parties, as we all know, is really important to get on this Switch and just any other console. Like you need to make sure you have third party content, and if a lot of people don't want to develop for it because they have to spend more money on the cartridges, that could definitely be a problem. So hopefully Nintendo can mass produce them or do something to make them more obtainable and easier to produce, so that it doesn't cost any company extra money. So yeah, hopefully they can figure that all out. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to talk to you guys about. Be sure to click that like button if you guys enjoyed this video, and definitely let me know what you guys think about all of this down below. What do you guys think about this, and how the Nintendo Switch is going to be having more money if you're going to be developing for it on the cartridge? Let me know what you guys think about how this means for third-party developers and all of that. And yeah, if you guys are hyped about the Nintendo Switch, just hyped for more games coming on the Nintendo Switch, then be sure to subscribe. Go follow me on Twitter at ActualArrow, and thank you so much for watching.